You know what I want?
Alive, yes.
I want a hot dog
Really?
from the grill.
Grilled with a lot of ketchup.
Yeah,
Woo!
no, no ketchup.
Mustard.
Oh, okay.
Mustard.
Well,
That's
I,
gotta have some mustard.
yeah, gotta have some mustard. I haven't had a good old fashioned grilled hot dog in a long time. In a long
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
grilled hot dog. So who's got a grill?
I got a grill. I ain't got no hot dogs though. I'll tell you what.
We gotta get some
Look,
impossible dogs.
no, 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 no.
No, no,
I'm
no.
telling you what. I gave up being a vegan for a hot dog. So ain't no vegan vegetarian hot dog gonna cut it for that. So, mm-mm.
Oh,
So
beyond dogs.
nope. I know either way you don't know what you're eating, but I think I just stick with the
The good old
It's just
USA
something
grade
about it.
beef.
It's something about it. And
mhm.
my house, the back of my house is part of Shelley Lake. You know,
Uh-huh.
feeds little stream feeds into Shelley Lake. But unfortunately, it has mosquitoes as big as my ink
Oh
pen.
God.
Ooh,
Uh-uh. Ooh.
I don't go back
go
there.
back out there. Oh no.
No, I don't go back there.
Got you.
But I really do. I got cookout on my mind. I have a
That sounds
cookout, not
good.
out the restaurant, but a cookout
Right.
on my mind. I would really like to just kind of do that.
Well, sweetie, you want to buy you a George Foreman and just grill them up.
Oh God.
Grill them up.
Are they good? I mean,
Yes,
do they
it
make you
works.
think I'm at a grill? They
It
do.
works.
Okay, you
All
got
right, everybody. I'm going to interrupt just long enough to say it's time to roll your open.
Thank
okay,
you.
sir.
Have a good one. I'll be here if you need me.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Authors Up. Welcome to Authors Up. Hey there, Victoria.
Hello, guys. How's my bronze girl? Mwah, I miss you.
Hey,
Seems like forever since we've been on the air.
I
Has
know.
it been?
Like,
Yeah.
seems like Ruth, you doing good tonight?
I am doing well tonight. How are you?
That's
Good.
good. That's good. I'm doing good. Also, this is just, it's been a great week. It's been a great week. It's been a great week.
You
And
had to stop and think about it?
I did. Because
Uh,
actually, I wasn't going to say something about the book. I was going to say something else. I changed my mind.
okay.
And I just decided to say it's just been a good week. Not necessarily a lot going on, but sometimes when you just have those weeks where no matter what happens, you just know he's with you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yes.
it was just one of those weeks. I don't
Yes.
care how challenging things got. I don't care what I was looking for. I don't care what I thought I needed. I just had this subdued joy, not my run around the room joy, but just this, this just at peace. I think that's what I can say
But
about
that Jesus joy, that's all right. That's all
it.
right.
Jesus' joy is peaceful, though. Jesus
Yes.
joy really, because it can put you at that place where everything is gonna be all right. And
Yes.
that's
Right.
where we
Yes.
to be
I
special.
actually had such a moment on Friday. Friday was so terrible as far as the storms, and I actually didn't go out for lunch I just stayed in my building. The storms were just terrible. And when I came out of work about 5:15, 5:20, when I walked out, what struck me, the first thing was that the birds were singing. After
Yeah.
such a terrible day, those
Yeah.
birds were still singing and just, I say they praising God, talking to each other, praising the Lord, and singing their bird song. And the air was so crisp, and it just struck me, God, where was the birds in the midst of the storm? Because they're all right. And
Yeah,
just
I
like you
never think
kept those
about that.
birds, you kept me.
Yeah.
It was just beautiful. I just had one of those moments where
Yeah.
it was
And
just beautiful.
I saw your post, and I thought
Yeah.
about it too, because there's something about after the storm, after the storm. And there have been so many times after that storm when you'll see a rainbow or a
Yes.
double
Yep.
rainbow.
Yes.
And it just says, hey, I got you.
Yes. Yes.
Whatever's going
It
on, I
was
got it.
something.
It's gonna be okay.
Something.
It's gonna be
I
okay.
said, well, those little birdies could sing. I got to give them some praise too.
Mhm. Yep.
Just wonderful. That was a beautiful, just a beautiful moment for me. Friday was really well.
This is a good place for us to segue into our weekend reviews.
Yes.
we got half of it done. So we're gonna come back and talk about it a little bit more. But Ruth, we're gonna start with you. Hey, Antonio. Good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, Ruth, what was your week like? You had. I know what your week was like.
Oh, of course
let's
we
hear it.
do.
Let's
Of
hear it.
course. Yeah. So my husband and I took a vacation. We went up to Philadelphia, got to visit my dad in New Jersey, got to meet my little sister. And when I
That's
say little sister,
awesome.
she's gonna be 2 years old in August. So, oh my God, talk about the
So cute.
cutest. I mean, just happy baby. Just
Oh,
a happy one. She
Oh,
just happy. I have no other words to describe her.
bless
She's
her heart.
just a joy. So, we spoiled her, taught her a new word, not a bad one. But it was fun getting to know her. And I don't have grandkids. Don't plan to have grandkids. My kids have told me they don't plan to have kids anytime soon. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of this and I'm going to spoil her instead.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Yep. So that was just, I mean, it was great. It was a great experience.
She got
So,
a face worth spoiling. I'm telling you.
oh
So
my God,
cute.
yes.
Yes.
Just
Kitty.
cute. I mean, I don't know how you could see that face and not just fall in love. That's
Aw.
just cute. I have no other words. It's
What do they say?
love.
Cuteness overload.
Oh my God, she was. And it's funny because we took like this walk after dinner. We went to this waterfront park and we just took a walk and, her mom had to change her diaper. So she kind of handed her off to me. She took my hand and then she took my husband's hand and then she just stuck with us through the whole walk. So we're, of course, pointing out the boats and the people and the dogs and the birds. And, my dad called me like a couple days later and he's like, I got a small problem. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, now she wants a boat. I'm like,
You
You
go,
better send her
little
a toy boat
I know, right?
and keep it moving.
So yeah, that I've just been on. That was the highlight of my week, and it's kept me right up there on high. So I look
That's
forward to seeing her again and just spoiling her.
Well, I tell you what, when I saw your pictures, and Maurice too,
Mm-hmm.
there was something in your smiles that just wasn't your regular smile. It
No.
really, really wasn't. And I thought, these folks are happy. I mean, they are having a ball with this little girl.
Yes.
And it just brought joy to my heart to see you all that happy. You were just, I said, this is different. This is different. We were talking a little bit before the program about joy. And about that Jesus joy and all that joy way down on the inside.
Yes.
But I tell you, you had one picture, I think you were holding her and you were kind of looking back. over your shoulder at her, and I thought that is a smile. I haven't seen that one. That's different. That's a different smile right there.
No, and she
Yes.
was just,
Yes, and
she literally, yeah, no, she literally was. So when I got up from the table, I was like, oh, we got to take pictures. And I stood right next to her and I did this. And then she just leaned her head back against me. And I'm like, oh my God, she's got me. She's got me. So
Moment, melting moment.
that was the moment. And I'm like,
yes.
okay.
And y'all look so happy. That was the first thing I
Thank
text back. Y'all look so happy.
My melting moment with kids is always that first real hug that they can get.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they nestle right up here.
Yeah.
You know, they'll put
Yes.
their little right up here. That's
And you know they
that's
mean that.
tuition. That's a college tuition hug. That's a pony in a boat.
Exactly. Yes, in boat.
So I'm glad you had a good time with
Yeah.
her. Hey
Thank
there,
you.
Linda and Angie and Laurie. Laurie's come in. Good evening. Good evening. Glad to have you join us here on Authors Up. What about you, Victoria? What else did you have going on other than a great Friday?
I know, right? You know what? I know everybody knows also that I sell paparazzi jewelry, and one of my directors has been challenging us to try to have more interaction on Facebook and more media presence. And each day she's been having these challenges, and the first day I was struggling to meet those challenges, right? But by Friday, I had them challenges done before noon.
All right, girl.
Look at you.
Yes.
Look at you.
And then you know what is so good about it? It was not. I learned how to also apply some of that to also with my book.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be utilizing some of those tools for marketing with my book as well. And I was like, so I just learned a lot last week about interacting with people and doing engagement posts and trying to let people know it's just not always about the jewelry. It's just about the interactions that you have, making people feel like they're important and really meaning it, not just doing it for a sale, but just about building relationships. And so last week was just a learning week for me, and it helped me actually cope with the pain I've been having. I've been having some pain with arthritis, and knee has been just killing me, but that kind of took the focus away. So it was really a nice week overall.
Yeah. Yep. I had a good week also. It started on Sunday. Our bishop took the mothers, some of the senior mothers, I think it was about 8 of us, out to dinner. And it was yummy. It was really, but it was good fellowship as well. And sometimes I just think that we need to get together for no apparent reason. That we got to meet about. There's nothing on the other side of that. But it's just to enjoy yourselves, and whatever comes up in conversation, great, and just a good day. But my week was filled with him.
Good.
And I don't know how else to say it, but there were a lot of challenges last week. There were a lot of assignments that I needed to complete last week that I was unsure of. But I just had one of those weeks where he just shows you who he is.
Amen. I like that.
No matter what's going on, there is evidence that he is with you. There's evidence that you are on the right road and the right track. And that's what I was telling Ruth today from the service this morning. There was so much in the service this morning that had been a part of our show on Thursday.
Wow.
And part of the upcoming newsletter. And I just, I was like, there's only one. There's only one God. And he has the same message for each of us. It comes in a different way. It comes in a different form. It might be a letter. It might be through fellowship. It might be through the love of a child or whatever it is.
Yes.
there is something, there's just a way that he has of showing us his love, his provision, his protection, his hand. His hand is just in everything. And I am just, it makes me smile thinking about it because it doesn't
Amen.
always have to be a big thing, a big
Right.
thing. And even with this program, when we see the names of people that we haven't seen for a while, Laurie hadn't been with us for a while, warms my heart that she is here.
Yep.
Linda and Angie, man, they are faithful, faithful, faithful.
Yes.
And Antonio Santoro, you are the bomb. I tell you what,
Okay.
come on. Hey, we got it. It's
Yes.
gonna be a good show. You comment, you interact with us, and that is so very important to us. So we just know that God is with us as He is with you.
Amen.
And I just encourage everybody who comes on, whether you're coming on right now, whether you come on through a replay, to know that God designs these afternoons for His glory, but He also designs them so that you will be blessed.
Amen. Amen.
So
I believe that.
every time that you come in, every time that you are with us, expect something. Expect to learn something. Expect to laugh. Expect to see the lighter side. Expect to be able to see somebody that came in last week, same time you did, and you're able to say good evening to them once again. So
Yes.
just that spirit of expectation that
What a blessing.
he's good. He's just good.
Amen.
He's good all
He
the
sure
time.
is.
And that's where I am. That was my week. I just wanted to, just bask in His presence.
Amen.
He's just good like that. So,
Yes.
and I'm also excited about our program tonight. We don't have a guest like we usually do, but child, you better get your pencil and piece of paper.
I got my pen ready. You got some
ready.
Ruthisms.
Get it ready, because Miss Ruth is going to be doing some, in our opening, it says that tips, tools, insights, and information. This is a night for tips, tools, insights, information, because we are going to hear some things according to the Griffin Guide. That's what we call it. Griffin Guide for Writers. I'm excited about that. I don't care if I have published a couple of books. I'm excited about that because somebody was saying tonight, we can always learn.
Learn something.
We
Right.
always learn, and there are always different ways of doing things, different ways of looking at things. And tonight is going to be one of those nights. So Ruth, I'm going to turn it over to you. We've got writers, we have authors, and there's so many people who say, I can't write. There's so many people who think, well, I'll never be a published author. But we have found that a lot of it comes from writing through other sources, because we have had authors that were born out of being bloggers and journaling and all kinds of other things. That is writing all the same. So I'm ready. Antonio's got, is that a pen down? Yeah, Antonio's got his pen. I got
his pencil and notebook and paper.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Y'all better get your stuff, Angie. You can get your pencil and your paper, child. You about to hear some stuff.
I'm ready. I was ready.
Okay, no pressure at all. None. All right. So, what is the one thing we say on this show all the time? Everyone
has a story to tell.
And that is true regardless of who you are. So, whether you want to tell it or not, whether you know how to tell it, everyone has a story. And that story can impact someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's whether it is nonfiction, whether it's a memoir, whether it is even fiction. Because even fictional novels can impact other people. It can touch you in a way that, just think about a book that you read that just touched you right here, and you're just that was someone's story. So, you know, everyone has a story to tell. Everyone. Now, if you want to write it, we've got we have some guides for you tonight, guidelines for you. Um, let's go over the different types of writers first. So, because I think everyone they have their own particular style, they have their own particular voice. Um, Andrea, you're a poet, and you do that really well. I personally have not written poetry in about 35 years, and I don't like it anymore. So everybody, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, some people, Victoria, I don't know why I wanted to call you Virginia.
Okay, but Virginia, it's all right.
Well, I see. You're a blogger as well, so that's shorter entries. It's maybe a few hundred, maybe a couple thousand words. So there are different types of writers out there. There's also copywriters. They're the ones who compose the phrases, paragraphs that sell products and services. There's the technical writers. There's the analytical ones. Those manuals at work that maybe a little dry to read. Someone wrote those. And
Somebody
then
got to
there are
write it, right?
somebody's got to write it. And then there are ghostwriters. Those are writers who are able to write for someone else in their voice. And that is a difficult thing to do. But if you can do it, there's money in that. But that is another show. So, there are different types of writers. I think identifying what type you are, what you want to do, is probably in the first step. So let's backtrack just one step, and we're going to go through what Andrea has kindly dubbed the Griffin Guide. So where do I begin? Let's say that you begin at the beginning. You have to identify what kind of story you want to write. You have to identify what kind of writer you are. We've had some authors on here who started off journaling. We have authors who started off in journalism. Some authors who just one day picked up a pen and started writing. So, figure out how you like to write. Like I said, I wrote poetry when I was in high school, but that is no longer my field. It's not my area of interest. So for me to sit down and try to write poetry, I would not be productive. On the other hand, Andrea is now a novelist. She can write prose. So she may not have said that 2-3 years ago, but she put her hand on it, and now she can do that. So identify who you are, what kind of writer you are, because I think we all have the ability to write. It just depends on identifying what we are comfortable with writing. Again, we can all do certain things, but that doesn't make us that thing. I can go into the kitchen and put some ingredients in a pot. That does not make me a chef. Just means I can cook something that I will eat, probably not anybody else. So it's not what I do best, but I can do it. So figure out what kind of writer you are, and then figure out what kind of story you want to tell. I started off writing nonfiction, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do that. But I had this fictional story burning in me. And when I sat down to actually write it, I found out that I was good at it. I found out that I could tell a fictional story, that I could create this world, that I could go from beginning to end, with my happy ending, and tell that story. So, what story do you want to tell? Are you a novelist? Are you just want to share your memoir? Do you like romances? Do you prefer drama? Do you like mystery? What do you want to tell? So that is step number 1. How do I start the process? I I like to tell my authors to create a roadmap. Start with the end in mind. So that's a little backwards, but if you figure out where you're trying to go, it will make going there a lot easier. You know, my husband and I just came back from Philadelphia. Our end goal was to get to Reading Terminal and just to eat. If you guys have never been there, I highly recommend it. It's a like 130-year-old city market, has a lot of vendors. Any food that you want, you can get there. But that was our destination in mind. But we had to know to get to Philadelphia, we had to know to get to the airport, we had to create a roadmap in order to get there. So I would recommend doing the same thing. And then you can put the stops in between. When I was writing my book, Stepmothers Anonymous, I knew how I wanted to end the book. I knew how I wanted to end the story. And because it was a fairy tale fantasy type book, I knew I wanted to start with Once Upon a Time and then end with Everybody Lived Happily Ever After, with some changes made in between. But I had to know what my end and what my beginning was so that I could, knew, okay, this is where I was going in chapter 1, chapter 15, this is what I'm doing in chapter 30. And, you can change it along the way. It's not set in stone. If you haven't read Stepmothers Anonymous, the titular stepmother acquires powers that she doesn't know where they came from. And along the way, I knew that she was going to have to face a certain thing. So she was going to have to create this revenge thing. But I didn't know what it was. So I was like, okay, she's going to do this. And then we'll get there. So I just put a placeholder right there. And I said, revenge, and then end of story. So that was my roadmap. But I understood, okay, that's the part of the story that is going to come in.
Right.
So, again, there are some authors who actually write by the seat of their pants, and I applaud them for that. That's not me, and that's not most people. You need to know where your story is going and how you can get it there. And that's why I say create a roadmap. I would start by outlining it, in the beginning, middle, end, and stuff in between. Afterward, I would recommend writing a treatment. It's like a short version, maybe 2 to 3 pages of the whole story. So you would write out in detail, highlighting maybe certain phrases or conversations that you want people to have. So, and that will give you a clearer vision of the story you want to tell. Even if it's just memoir or nonfiction, again, it'll just take you from point A to point B to point C to the end part. So that's how you create your roadmap, and that's how you create your process, or you begin your process. So any questions before we go to the next part? Oh, you guys are easy. All right.
I'm listening to Ruthisms.
Okay. So let's talk about our audience.
Okay.
Think about the books that you've read. Think about the books that you've written, for you two specifically. When you were writing it, who were you writing it for? Those are the kind of questions that you have to ask yourself. When you read a particular book, maybe it's the genre that you read. Again, I like romance books. I like books with a little mystery in it. Did that book speak to me? I've read, what is it called? The Christie Affair by Nina de Gramont. If you guys get a chance, that is an excellent book, especially if you're a Agatha Christie fan. And I was able to walk away from that book going, okay, I have certain check boxes, okay, romance, satisfied, mystery, satisfied, murder mystery, satisfied.
Ooh.
It all hit the check marks. They wrote it with me in mind. Obviously, they didn't know who I was, but that's the kind of questions you want to ask yourself. A lot of authors tend to write what they like to read, what they are familiar with. So chances are, if you're writing a particular book, if there's a story you particularly want to tell, there are other people who want to read that as well. Now, you're not going to be able to satisfy everybody, but think about the audience that you are, and then think about the audience that you want to write to. You know, there's some authors who go, well, I want to write to everybody. I want to reach everybody. Unfortunately, that's not realistic. You have to pick who your audience is, because most men will not read romances. Most women will not read action books. You know, you do have exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, you have to know who you are writing for so that you can tailor your story to that or to them, and then know how to market it to them. Yes, Andrea.
I have a question, and my question is, can that, how do you get over letting that get in the way? And sometimes I think that when I think about, even with poetry, when I first started writing, I had just tossed so much work because I thought that there was not an audience, because I thought that that nobody was going to want to read it, that nobody was going to pay any attention to it. And, of course, I'd never sell a copy or whatever. And I think the self-doubt sometimes for writers
Very
is
good point.
than it may be for some other things that people do. And I think that it may be because there's something really, really personal
Oh, absolutely.
to me about writing, whether it's a collection of poetry or memoirs, or like you say, there's a heart and soul piece, I think,
Absolutely.
that comes with it. So how do you manage to not let that get in the way? Because even with some of our authors, who have talked about, I wrote a little bit and it sat on the shelf for 5 years or something before I went back to it, or that kind of thing. So how do we keep the audience, which we need to be thinking about, from so getting in our head that it stops the process?
Okay, that is an excellent, excellent question, because you are absolutely right. Writing is personal. Even as much as we say, oh, it's just a story, or it's fictional, or I'm putting it on paper or whatnot, that is still a part of you going on that paper. It's still a
Yeah.
part of you coming out. Those are your words, your voice.
Mhm.
Okay. And, you know, this is where you have to understand who you are and what kind of writer you are. I actually had one of the moms in our church ask me that same question, because her daughter is talented, but she doesn't want to share her writing with anybody.
Okay.
And one of the first things I told her was, ask her daughter, who are you writing for? If you're just writing for yourself, if you're writing your journal, if you're writing, you just want to express yourself on paper, you're your own audience, and there's nothing wrong with that. There will come a time maybe where you want to publish, or you might just want to um, just keep that information to yourself. There is a freedom, um, I want to say, of expression, but there's a freedom in being able to take these words that are just burning in your soul and put them on paper.
Yes.
I don't handwrite anymore. I type a lot of stuff, but there's a freedom when I can assemble my words and just, type them out and just see them later on and go, okay, I did that. So you're your first audience, and you have to identify, who are you writing for? Again, go back one question. Who is your audience? If it's just for you, that's it. Now if you want to write to a bigger audience, if you say, hey, I want to write, on Andrea, like you said, I want to write poetry, but maybe they won't like it, maybe they won't read it. That's when you find someone that you trust. Someone that you can say, hey, be honest with me. Will you read this? You don't have to pick 15 of them. You can get one, maybe two people say, hey, can you read this to me? Give me your honest opinion. You want to find a mentor who will say, who you can say, hey, look, I want, maybe I don't need help. Maybe I just want someone to encourage me, and they can come back and say, hey, you just wrote a 20,000 word book. That's awesome. Here are some parts that we can work on, but someone who will encourage you. So, you have to determine, number one, who your audience is, and then number two, discover where you're finding the fear, where the fear is coming in. Because if you can discover that, then you can work against it per se. You can
Like,
recondition yourself to say, okay, I don't think anybody will read this, but I want to put it out there. Another thing might be, if you're still not comfortable, maybe using a pen name, using a name that no one will
okay.
discover. I
Okay.
also would recommend not reading comments and reviews until you're in a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because people can be mean for no
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to keep putting yourself out there if you're just not in that place yet where you can take criticism. There's a difference between a mentor giving you advice or critiquing your work and then someone just being mean, someone just being criticizing you for the wrong reason. So,
Right.
you know,
I
it's a
like
lot of introspective, but if you can do that, you will be a better writer in the end, whether it's for yourself or someone else.
I like that. I can be my own audience, and that can be okay.
Absolutely. Hmm.
I think maybe
Absolutely.
that's probably why people uh, will use writing in a therapeutic sense.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
You were saying in terms of the freedom
Yes.
that comes with putting that down, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be an author of that piece in terms
Absolutely.
of getting it out to other people.
Absolutely.
That leads me to a question. I have a question.
Hmm.
What, in your opinion, makes someone a great writer?
Ooh. Um, wow. Okay. I wish you'd have given me that earlier. No,
But
you know what
I
makes
thought about that in
yeah.
terms of how of all the things that you're saying, how you are your first audience, and then you talk about finding someone else, to read your work, to let
Hmm.
that you trust to give you feedback. But then what? Suppose they give them terrible feedback, and I know there's instances where somebody read this book and said, "Oh, this is garbage. It's not going to make it," and then somebody else read it, and the book shot out.
Hmm.
So what makes a great writer?
Okay, so what makes a great writer, honestly, is someone who stays true to the story they want to tell. They're the ones that put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I don't want to be mean,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
the thing with self-publishing is that a lot of people try to cut corners. They want to
Right,
get
right,
the book out when honestly, they could use maybe a couple more weeks, a couple more months of waiting so that they could go through the work again. It is your story will come out when,
mm-hmm.
if you seek to be published, put in the extra work so that
Right,
you can have a something you can be proud of, you know?
exactly.
And that is what makes a great author.
Okay,
There are people who will be naysayers. There are people, your book's not going to be for everyone. That's just the truth of the
That's
matter.
now that's
You know,
it.
so if your audience is happy with it, you're a great author. Now,
Okay,
authors are published. What makes you a great writer is when you are able to stay true to the story that you're trying to write, when you know your craft, you know your audience, even if it's just for yourself. You know, I keep a journal. I've kept a journal now for probably about 20 years. Um, I am very detailed. I punctuate everything correctly. I
Of
use
course you
correct grammar
do.
even if I'm the only one reading it. Those
Of
things
course
don't
you
make
do.
me a great writer.
I
You know
couldn't
what
see
makes
your
me a
book being
great
your journal being nothing less than that.
look, my texts are all
Yep.
formatted
Right.
correctly. So, those are not the type of things necessarily what makes me a great writer because, if you read like was it Julia Alvarez, there she uses no, quotation marks. Everything is in lowercase. She's true to herself in the story
Yeah.
she's trying to tell and how
Yeah.
she tells it. If you read even Paulo Coelho, there's a level of mysticism in his book. He's true to who he is. If you want to be a great writer, be true to who you are. So I think that that's how I would answer your question.
I like it.
I do too, and I think it's very true because there are times that you have writers like a Sidney Sheldon,
Hmm.
for example.
Hmm.
Sidney
Hmm.
Sheldon was popular. It just seemed like he just turned out just one book after
After
another.
another, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But then I think about the gentleman who wrote The Firm and
Hmm.
A Time to Kill. I can't think of his name,
Yeah.
but
Say
I
Grisham.
believe that the A Time to Kill was his first book and The Firm was his second. But whatever the order was, the very first one that he wrote went nowhere.
Right.
Hmm.
And had he stopped and not been true to himself and not been true to his
Yes.
story and his method of writing, the next book would not have come and we would have been robbed
Oh
Right.
yes,
Right.
stories
yes,
because both of those books ended up making great movies.
John Grisham.
yes, yeah. John
Yeah,
Grisham,
Marcia.
and
John
I have to say,
Grisham.
yes.
I've never been jealous of my husband, but my husband got to meet him.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
Ah,
he sent me
ah,
pictures. I'm like, oh, I want to be where you're at now.
I know,
But no,
right?
you.
we would have missed that. And I think that issue of being true to yourself and true to
Mhm.
your story is really something key that when we as writers and some of the writers and authors on the program, when we get to that place where we stall, I'm not going to call it writer's block necessarily,
Mm-mm.
where you just kind of stall in the story, um, that we remember that. That's something
Mhm.
that I don't ever want to forget. To be true to the story and true
Absolutely.
to me and what I'm writing.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. It's a good
Yes.
tip. I do want to welcome Marcia Marcellus. Thank you for being here, Marcia. I don't know that I mentioned Paula Obi.
Mhm.
Paula's on the line with us as well. Thank you guys for joining in. Back to
Yes.
you, Miss Ruth.
Okay. So we just got a couple more. What are the most common stumbling blocks, and how do I overcome them?
Okay.
So, the number one, I don't have enough time.
Oh,
Mm,
We make time for what's important to
yeah.
us, and that's the truth of the matter. Now we are busy. We can't deny that. But the truth of the matter is, even if you can only set aside 15 minutes before you go to bed, 15 minutes after you get up, are you a morning person? Are you a night owl? I am a morning person. I do my best work probably between like 7 a.m. to about 11. And, obviously I have to be at work early in the morning, but you know what? I can set aside time during the day. I can write a little bit in the morning. I can set aside some time during lunch. Or I come home in the evening and say, you know what? I'm a little bit tired, but I'm going to set aside 15 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm going to write 1,000 words. I'm going to write 250 words. Whatever your goal is, make it attainable for you, you know, um, and then do it, because the truth is, like I said, you make time for what's important to you. And if this is something that you say that you've identified, I want to get this done. I have a book to write, I have a story to tell, I want to write it. You're going to find the time to do it. You know, we sit at our desks at work and we sit there and eat while we play on our phones or do work, that's your time. You can say, okay, I'm going to get my paper and pen out, or I'm going to get my phone out and type, write on my phone or whatever while I eat. So there's time to be found during the day. You just got to look. So, all right, next one. I don't know where to begin. So, we talked about creating the roadmap. I want to quote a movie. You guys know how I am about quotes, but I thought that this was great because I think this is how most people think about books. I don't know if you guys have seen the Will Ferrell movie, The Other Guys. Awesome movie. Steve Coogan plays David Ersham, who's the not the bad guy. He's just the crook in the movie. And at some point near the end of the film, they ask him to explain what happened and what was going on. So he says this. Well, I think the best way to tell the story is by starting at the end briefly, then going back to the beginning, and then periodically returning to the end, maybe giving different characters perspectives throughout, just to give it a little dynamism. Otherwise, it's just sort of a linear story. And it's just like, okay, I don't know what he said.
What?
But I think that's the way most people look at it. It's like, okay, well, I want to write this, but I want to write that. No, you created your roadmap. Keep it in front of you. Keep it next to you. One of the things that I do when I write a story is that I put my little roadmap together, and then I do a save as, and I actually use that file to start writing my story. So that when I get to the beginning, I just follow what I have, and then the next point comes up. Oh, okay, this is where I want to go. And then the next point, and then I'm building towards the end, which is already built in. So that's one way to look at it. If not, just keep it there next to you, keep it in front of you. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was Mario Van Peebles. He was in it. And one of the things he did as a writer was use sticky notes. He had his entire wall, just scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. And as he went through the story, he would put up a sticky note for the next scene, So however you choose to do it, you've created your roadmap. Now use it. That's what it's for. So last one, I'm stuck. You mentioned earlier, Andrea, about writer's block. I do think writer's block is a real thing, but I also think that anytime we get stuck, we tend to say, oh, it's writer's block. Not necessarily. When I was writing the Book of Joy, I lost about 1.5 years on it because I was stuck in that first chapter. I didn't know how to start the book. And I just put it down after a while because I was like, I can't do this. I don't know where to start it. I knew the story I wanted to tell, but I just couldn't get past that first chapter. I ended up doing the National Novel Writing Month contest, or the challenge that year.
We know about that one.
Yeah. One of the things about that is they say just write.
Right.
If you will just write, you'll find your rhythm. And that's where I learned about placeholders. That's where I learned, okay, just put something in there and get you to that next point. If you can just do that, you can come back and rewrite it. You can look at it in the editing phase and go, okay, that makes no sense. And to be honest, once I was able to do that, there wasn't a whole lot I had to change. I just had to start. So if you're stuck, just write. That sounds silly, but if you're stuck with that story, go look at another story. Go look at your journal. Go, write something else and then come back to it. And if that doesn't work, then just put a placeholder and go on to the next part. The next part that again, you have your roadmap, just go to the next part. So it sounds silly, but if you're stuck, just write. So, and that is my Griffin guide. So, again, if you guys have any questions at all, we are happy. Look, fill up our inbox. That's what we got the email for, authorsup@gmail.com. We want to help you guys tell your story. We want to help you, that story that's burning inside of you that we say everyone's got a story to tell. We're happy to tell, we're happy to help you with that. So, you know, identify what kind of writer you are, what type of story you're trying to write, create your roadmap, identify your audience, and then just write.
All
See where that
right.
takes you.
Well, I tell you what, you have
Nice.
given us some good tips and tools and insight and information tonight, and I hope that our audience got something out of it. I'm sure that they did, and I thank the authors for joining, because we've got Angie Oliphant. Angie's an author.
Yes.
Mhm.
Antonio.
We've got Antonio. We've
Miss
got
Leah.
Leah's got her 8th book out there.
Yes.
I think was that the only one? Yes, I think those are the only authors, at least that we can see. And I am challenged to complete some things, because there is something that I have had the title to for some time, and it's like every other day I get up and say, "Hey, I gotta write that,"
Uh-huh.
something will remind me of it. I gotta write that, and
Yeah.
that's as far as I get. So
Okay, I understand.
I'm hoping I don't have to wait until the writing challenge
In November.
but that I'll be disciplined enough to begin that journey to get it written. I
Yeah.
know the story that I want to tell, and I just need to sit down and do it. Just do it. What's next?
Likewise.
do
I
it.
started my second
Just
book,
do
and it's right where I left it.
Well, you know what? Tomorrow is another day,
Yes, it is.
and with every new day, we have a new opportunity to begin again.
And some
So,
really good tips from tonight, really, to get with it.
yep,
Yep.
yep. And that's
And I
what
would,
we do. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and the only thing I would add is don't feel bad about what you haven't done. Just get up and start anew.
I like that.
I like that. Period. That,
Yes, don't
that's
feel
not
bad.
a
I gotta
writing
write
thing.
that down.
It's a good life thing.
Yes.
Good life thing. We spend so much time
Mhm.
focusing on what did not happen
Mhm.
that we don't even take time to focus on the things that did.
Yeah.
So maybe you didn't get that book off the shelf yet, but guess what? Tomorrow you have an opportunity to do
Yeah.
it. And
And look,
today you got some tips and tools and insight and information so that you can. Hallelujah.
yes,
I like that.
Victoria, and look at it this way, you already got a jump start on it. So
That's true. That's true. I do have some of it done. Could you tell me the name of that book you was talking about with the love and the mystery and the murder? Because you know that's my kind of book.
no, guy. It's called was it The Christie Affair by Nina DaGramont, DaGramont, and it's kind of a love letter to Agatha Christie, because she did her
Oh.
own take on the type of author that she was, and she used and this is what I love literature. Agatha Christie disappeared for 11 days, like in 1920 something. And she
Oh.
never talked about where she went or what she did during those 11 days. And this author did her own take on that. So
Okay.
it
Okay.
was a good
Gotcha.
book. Yeah, it was a
Wow.
good book.
Okay. Okay.
Look, for our authors that we have run over our time. I apologize for that. I really got caught up in the conversation myself and wasn't watching the clock like I usually do. So I apologize for that. But for those of you who are still on the line, if you can put in the comment section the title of your work, or the title
Mhm.
couple of, I know, Leah, you've got 8 things out there. I think and Antonio, I believe, has got more than one. But if you can just put, you can't put them all, that's fine, but just 1 or 2, just put those titles in the comments section, so that some of our listeners who are either on tonight or who will come back and watch the replay can see those and go out and look for them and support you in your efforts to get that story told. So
Mhm.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Ruth, you know we appreciate you.
Yes.
We thank
Very welcome.
you for all that you have done. We have a budding author who is on the show tonight. I'm not going to call her out today, but I just want to say, just be on the lookout for Paula Obi. Okay.
Paula Obi. I say it loud and proud. Paula Obi. Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've got some
Y'all gonna have to
wonderful
get that
things.
book.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
Yes, we
Mhm.
do. And I'm going to say right now, you all just be looking out for October. I'm telling you, Authors Up is getting ready to do something amazing in October. So just we'll tell you more about it as we go along. The month of June, I will say, is going to be our month to give away another book bundle. So be sure that you're coming in June and writing in your comments so you can be a part of that drawing. Angie's book is The Shepherd, the Sheep, and the Sheepdog.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's a good book, y'all. It's a good one.
Whole and beautiful. Whole
Yes,
and beautiful.
yes.
Yes.
Indeed. And I think that that is it. That better be it. We're at 7:56. We got to get off the air, guys. But thank you so much for being with us tonight. We look forward to having you come back with us next week. We will be right here on Saturday at 7 p.m. There will be a replay of this program. So if you want to come back and listen to it again so that you can get more information, feel free to do that. Feel free to share. Don't keep all the fun to yourself, because we have a good time here on Authors Up, and that is it. Either of you have any last comments to make?
Just email us, authorsup@gmail.com, and we
Have a
just
good night.
Okay.
good night.
That's it. Angie put her other one down, embracing your whole and beautiful life. To God be the glory. To God be the
That's it.
Yeah. So you guys put those titles in. Thank you for being with us, and we will see you next week. Authors Up,
Good night.
7 p.m. God bless.
Night, Bronze Girls.
Night,
Night.
guys.